sun above her head?
Oh my God, I do actually.
The fog's lifting and it's starting to come out.
It's a
So
halo.
it could get it pretty bright. Anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to each do a journey, and they're going to be brief. And I'm going to be doing a journey to White Eagle. I've been wanting to do this. Joe journeyed into White Eagle. I really liked his experience, and I'd never connected with him before. And Joe's going to do a journey to Saint Germain. I've journeyed to Saint Germain, and I've actually found him to be a little bit more difficult to connect with, mainly because his energy is undetectable vibrationally. It's very vibrationally light and undetectable. So I was kind of curious to see if it was that way for Joe or not.
I think we're also going to talk a little bit about clairvoyance and stuff like that, and about, because I think it's important to help people to see in the journey state and what that feels like and what that looks like, and the different perspectives on what I do and what Abbey does, because we do things similar, but we're also very unique in our own styles. So, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'll go.
I'll go ahead. Ladies first.
Okay. So I'm just gonna close my eyes and chill out here. Okay. White Eagle. Well, instantly I see a woman, and I am that woman, and my eyes are closed. I have really long lashes. There's white paint on my face. It's unusual because I feel like a Native American woman, but the way that the paint is on my face does not seem familiar to anything I've seen Native Americans having paint on their face like this. It's specifically drawn kind of like jagged under my eyes, and it's all filled in under and above my eyes, and then it kind of is smooth across my eyebrows, just right here like a mask, and it's white paint. And my eyes are closed, and they stay closed. And my eyes even stay closed, it's almost like for hours. And I feel like I'm picking up on now what is an actual white eagle that is flying above my head. And it's interesting because I can see outside my own body, and I can fly with the eagle if I want to. I don't have to stay in my body. And White Eagle is showing me that the paint that I've chosen and the way that I've chosen to design the paint, how it would be applied to my face, is very specific. I made this choice to choose this as it represented, when I closed my eyes, that I would leave the body and fly with the White Eagle. And that was on purpose. I did this paint on purpose, specifically as a communication, as an identification. I am choosing this paint, and I'm going to go into this process of meditation in a way. I'm going to leave my body and then fly with White Eagle. And it's easy to leave your body behind when you let your mind go wherever it wants to go. Right now, I'm in the sky, and I could be part of White Eagle if I want to, or I could be just a consciousness flying around in the air. Or I could become my own body as something beyond myself, my own White Eagle body. And White Eagle is asking me, what do I feel is the importance of this message? And I say, I feel like this topic about clairvoyance or psychic ability is really important to me right now, because I feel like it's a psychological tool, like it's a tool to help people. And I think the word psychic, it can, people hear that word and they associate it with something that they could never be, but they don't realize what they are. And I love that as this Native American woman in the scene, I can't see necessarily, I'm more so in the body and aware of the fact that I put the paint on and I did it in this way, but I can't tell what I actually look like. Even when I'm in the sky and I'm with White Eagle, I can't actually look back at myself and see myself clearly. And I feel like clairvoyance isn't about um, all the specific and nitty gritty details, as in what the meaning of this event is all about. And you have the ability, I'm talking to you, the viewer, just like me, close your eyes and experience something coming to you, experience an awareness of sorts. And it's not always going to make sense unless you participate in the awareness. I'm participating in this. Oh, I experience myself as a Native American person. Oh, I see lashes and eyes closed. Oh, I see face painted. It's not that I necessarily see it as I experience this as a divine truth of what is being presented to me, what I'm participating in. And just a moment here, because I feel there's just another thing. I just want to follow this through. White Eagle is smiling, and he says he's with us, and he is everywhere. And he really shows that there's no space in between anything. So any distance between you and the forest or the mountain or the ocean, there is no distance between you and anything. And that your spirit is free, always free. Your spirit is always free. Again, to remove the words like clairvoyance or psychic and just become one with your spirit. And now you can set your spirit free. When you close your eyes, you can go anywhere you want to go, and you can feel a part of anything you want to feel a part of. And there's no distance or time that separates you from that. And you have that desire, and you follow the desire through. And then you have that experience. So that is my journey with him. That was really nice. Joe? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that's what journey's like, but then people are going to say, well, I can't journey. So and I think that's where.
Okay.
So, and we'll leave that because I want to jump right into mine, and we're going to discuss both.
Okay.
Because I think this topic is going to influence a journey, period.
Yeah.
Because anytime you have a specific idea inside your mind you want to talk about, the spirits that you go to will help guide the message. So I want to just go into Saint Germain and how I'm going to take a couple of deep breaths in. I get instantly very loud yelling. And behind, like it's like I'm standing outside a door and there's loud yelling going on inside the other room. And I'm in a big place. And there's a really big hallway and there's a lot of yelling going on the other side of the door. So, and when I go to open the door, it's like, should I open this door? Should I not? Like I'm supposed to be here, but these people are yelling at each other. And do you open the door or you wait? It's a question. Do you interrupt them when they're screaming at each other, or do you wait? It's always best to wait to when somebody's to not interfere with the argument, because the argument might this is what's coming to me. This is part of the message. Do I wait or do I not wait? And so I was going to open the door and I said, no, I'll wait till the yelling's done. And so all of a sudden everything goes silent. Open the door and there's a dead man on the ground. And there's blood running out of his belly, and there's a man standing over him, shaking, and he has a knife in his hand, and he falls back in his chair. And the question is, if I would have walked in earlier, I might have stopped this from happening. That comes to me right away. But the man is sitting in the chair, and there's a person looking in from the window, and that's Saint Germain, watching this scene. And he instantly comes to me and says, it's not your fault that this happened, because there's a part of yourself that instantly blames yourself. Well, if I made this decision, this might not have happened. And then he shows me that I walk into the door, and the man with the knife actually now tries to kill me as well. and now we're both lying dead on the floor. And he says, was it worth your while to interfere, or is it simply the being respectful and wait till the conversation's over and then you walk in? Now, this is a very different thing that I've expected, but this is what I'm seeing. And then he takes me through another door, and we're walking down a long corridor, and this place is behind us. And he said this was a real event that happened. And the man got arrested, and the man was held, went to the police and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, why would you show me that? And he simply states that it's sometimes you make decisions that you second guess your decisions, but there is no wrong decisions. You just make a decision, and that decision is right. No matter what that is, just be okay with that decision. And that's just one little message that he wanted to say before he takes me to this other place. And we're going much faster now. And he takes me to a room with an orb, but it's like a table, but it's also an orb. And it's very, very strange, because the bottom is like a sphere, but there's also a very distinctive top, and then there's a much lighter portion on the top that's flickering, that's there and it's not. So it's not really completely it's not completely finished in a way. It's like a table, but it's not a table. It's also a sphere. And if you walk over to it, you can actually make the top disappear entirely, or completely form the sphere. So it's 100%. But it still has that separation in the middle. And he wants me to sit on the other side of the sphere, and we sit down, and the top disappears, and now it's basically a half a sphere, and it's a table. But it's more to it than that. It's like very creepy, because when I put my hands down, there's a bunch of tentacles that come up and grab my wrists, and they're like black tentacles, and they're like really gross worm-like tentacles that come up and grab my arms. And he's just sitting there with his hands on the table, and he's not saying anything. He's just looking at me. And he wants to know how I react to this. And I simply just allow myself to be like phase out in a way, my arms, and the tentacles go, and I put a layer over it. I pull that separation over to my side so the tentacles now can't get through. And he simply puts one eyebrow up, just like Spock does in Star Trek. And he doesn't say a word. And then he actually puts the whole thing in flames. All of a sudden now the whole table is burning in flames, and I do the same thing. And he raises to cold, into now my hands are like we're in a blizzard, and now it's like we keep going to it goes more extreme every single time, that now the whole room is in flames, and I simply just be like him and not allow any of it to have any effect on me. And he just keeps doing this, and then eventually he just stops, and we're standing on a bridge, and we're overlooking, there's a world we're overlooking, and it's in fire. It's in flames, there's smoke coming from it. It's like a village that had just been burnt. And we go to the village, and we're walking through the village, and there's so much pain and suffering, and we're simply just there to observe. And he says, what do you do when all you can do is observe all the chaos in the world? How do you think that makes you feel? And it's like, I'm tired of just looking at everything, and I want to come back to this world so I can actually make a difference. Because if I stay here and just simply watch the suffering of the world, how would anything ever going to change? And he looks at me and he holds my hands and he says, I want to be like you and come back to this world to help make a difference. And then they see a mother being like screaming in labor, and a baby is born, and she's holding this beautiful baby in her arms, and she's smiling. And then you see that Saint Germain is now reborn into this world. And that's the message.
It's really beautiful.
So that's what I got. So what's that say about it's interesting because there's a lot of things going on, and I think he just wants to help the world. And when you get somebody that is very loving, they don't simply just go and never come back.
Yeah.
Because they can't. He could not watch the suffering of the world any longer. He just couldn't do it. He can't just simply observe, he says. He needs to come back and help. And that's why we keep coming back to help this world, because we can't stand just watching. So we need to stop watching.
Right.
And actually participate in this world.
It's kind of like our conversation about ascended masters, because they come back because their heart is so bright, and what they've learned and what they've conquered is a gift to help those who are working on ascending in those ways inside themselves. It's just coming into harmony with love. And it's challenging because even ascended master can come back and be just like us, confused, lost, wanting the answer, having to go through all that to rediscover themselves again. And it's just like Joe and I mean, having to go through the action of being human and going through these emotional processes and feeling beaten down by life, and then still having to stand up again and keep going, and then understanding, what does that mean? Now, what does this mean? Now, what does this tell me about myself? And all of this is my talent, is my teaching, is my learning, is now what I can provide others to help them get back up again when they've fallen down, discover what you're capable of.
What I find very interesting is that both of these were like the opposite. Your journey was about when you come here, how you become clairvoyant and stuff like that, to help you feel free in your soul in this world. And the other one is about, I'm a soul and I need to come back to help this world. So it's showing the kind of like the importance of both.
Yes.
Of feeling free at times, because this is a very hard world. It's part of life. It's the part of keeping yourself in balance. It's the part of yourself to keep yourself happy. Is to be able to live in both worlds. Because it's so hard to just simply only live in this one and never have the accessibility to be able to feel free, like in the spirit world.
I feel like that's the anomaly that is lacking, is what it's like. That elixir of life is, it's not, we aren't whole just by doing the practical human day, mundane, you could say. But we find wholeness when we recall our spirit, when we recall that energy, when we have access to the energy. It takes work, because I'm human too, so I'm not just like in the awe of feeling a wholeness between my human life and the spirit realm, that I have access to at any time, just like anybody. Being human and this life is a discovery experience, and it's difficult, and we have to keep working with that harmony in our heart. And I think for White Eagle is guiding us to remember how to access that harmony when we're human. And Saint Germain reminding us, when you're in spirit realm, why you long to come back, no matter how difficult it is, because you have a gift to share, and you have hands that can help this world. You have a soul that can help this world. So imagine yourself, you in the spirit realm, looking at this earth and saying, I can help. you coming back to help, you know?
And so what I want you to do first is explain what you've seen and how you explained it, and kind of as a clairvoyant
Like
type scenario,
Mm.
what you've seen and how that looked.
No.
And then to help people understand what you're actually doing when you're doing the journey, and I'll do the same thing.
Yeah, okay. All right, so obviously I choose to close my eyes. I can still do a journey with my eyes open, but I like to create a barrier between the human world and what I'm accessing energetically. And so when I close my eyes, the intention obviously is to go to White Eagle, and then I'm already there. There's no time between when I make the intention. I don't have to find White Eagle. What am I doing? No, I said, White Eagle, bam. What comes to me is exactly that connection, okay? And so what comes to me is confusing. All right, I don't understand it yet. So I experience the lashes and the eyes closed. It's the first thing. Then I experience odd pain and I feel like I'm a Native American woman and my eyes are closed. That's the next thing. And as I describe things out loud, it moves the scene. So the scene is already like a movie that is playing out, but it will only move when I am interacting with it. And so let's say you were to connect with White Eagle and then close your eyes. If the first thing that came to you wasn't necessarily, it didn't have any, you're looking for a picture, an image, it's something that you're going to experience. It's like, I'm going to experience the color green. Okay, well, what is that? Okay, you're going to let it develop. So you're going to say, okay, I experienced the color green. We don't know what green means yet because green could mean a bajillion things. You have to let it develop, right? So I'm letting the scene develop because I don't know what is being said until I let it develop. So obviously then from this Native American woman, I keep experiencing in my senses, like, okay, there's a bird that keeps flying around. I just can sense there's a bird that keeps flying around and it is white. And then it's like, oh, White Eagle, that's got to be it, right? And it's not like, it's like awareness. It's just an awareness that you are picking up on an awareness. I'm not thinking, it's coming to me. It's a sensation of, it's developing within me and around me. And I'm looking around and I'm digesting and processing the meaning of it. Now I'm free. So when I describe my experience, you can do this too. Anybody can do this. Anybody can close their eyes and then let your imagination develop around you. You don't craft it or create it. It comes to you. That's the difference between you're in control or the spirit realm is revealing something for you. That's the difference. I'm going to imagine it and put myself in it. That creates learning too. But if I just let the image come to me, then that is that journey state. That is where I'm being guided.
So do you actually see the White Eagle, or do you experience it as being there?
I experience it as being there.
Okay.
So for me, I don't care about the clairvoyance so much because anybody who sees nothing at all can see everything in crystal clear detail. So you can challenge yourself to do this. Close your eyes and purposefully put yourself in a space that is defined as a black box, okay? And purposefully do it. We all know what black looks like. We all know what a box is. Now put your consciousness inside of that concept, okay? Now, don't worry about what you see. You can't choose to be blind then. And then just feel around. Start to ask the questions. How big is this box? Is it really tiny? Is it really big? Is it a box? Maybe it's turning into a sphere now. Like, you're going to start to collect details. How are you collecting these details? You didn't decide what size the box was. You didn't decide if it was a sphere. You didn't decide what was going to be inside of it. We're just starting with some parameters here. Now, when you use your energy hands or your pretend hands and you start to feel around, you start to say, oh my God, there's a wooden floor. Oh my gosh, there's wallpaper. I'm in a house. Whoa, there's stairs. It's like an old farmhouse. I can't believe what's happening here. How are you picking up on all this? It's a black box. No, it's definitely not. I'm experiencing color. I'm experiencing shapes and sizes. I'm experiencing meaning. Okay? okay? Don't say I'm seeing it. Say I'm experiencing it. Now that gives you the edge because you really are seeing it, but experiencing it gives you the ability to make it dimensional. You can smell it, you can sense it, feel it, touch it, taste it, and define it. So yeah. I want to know about your Saint Germain, because I when I connect to Saint Germain, it's like, are you a real person? Because you're about as light as air. So I have to just let whatever comes to me come. And that's my experience with Saint Germain, which I haven't channeled Saint Germain for a while. And I was curious what
it's the first time I ever done. I never even know who he really was, actually.
Yeah.
Interestingly, like, this is why our styles are so different. It's good and bad. Like, when I actually go into a journey state, I actually, like, first thing is sound is really strong as well for me, and sight. Like, I see everything like a movie, and but I also feel everything. Like, it's so when I first went into the scene, the first thing I heard was a sound of yelling, and then I went into I'm in a hallway, and then I find out how big the hallway is, and then it's like an older building with very high ceilings and like an oval roof with a long corridor, and it's very ornate. So I'm going to this door, and the first thing I have is I'm going to open this door, but there's fighting on the other side. So you have to make a decision. Do I open it? Do I not? That's when you allow your soul to guide you. And this is very important. I don't make the decision to open the door. My soul does, because my soul knows what to do. So I can open the door, but I always listen to my higher self, you could say, is a better way of actually describing it. I listen to my higher self. My higher self says, no, don't open the door. Wait. But then that's when that decision came in. Because it was meant for you to, as a person, to look at a situation and say, do I open the door or do I not? Is there right or wrong answers? Either way, you made a decision, and that's okay. So when I open the door, I first thing I see is I had no idea what's on the other side of the door. The yelling stops, I open the door, and there's a dead body there. I had no idea there was a dead body on the side of the door until I opened the doorway. Because when you open the doorway, you're going through a different dimensional space almost all the time. And if the door is opened, you tend to walk through the same dimensional space. When you open a door and it opens, you're going somewhere else. That's my general consensus. Most of the time it's like that. So when you go into the other door, you look behind you, most likely that hallway is either still there or not there at all, because you go somewhere else. So now you're in a room, and this other person falls down with a knife in his hand, and you see that, and he's physically shaken. And he's not even aware that you're in the room, because at the same time, because he can't see that I'm there. I'm just seeing this experience. And I look out the window, and Saint Germain's creepily looking in the room. I don't even, like you got a guy out there just staring in the window. And that's what I see, and I didn't know what I could make of it.
Saint Germain, you're creepy.
Well, it's not creepy, but he's looking in there like you just, like somebody's just floating there looking in. It's kind of creepy. You're looking into the window, and then he comes in, and then instantly takes me into that space, because the lesson of what was meant to be is already done. Yeah. And now we're moving to the next thing, and I'm actually seeing, walking, he's beside me, and we're walking down this room hallway. It's like a moving energy hallway that's going to this other place. And it's kind of like a lot of white in that hallway with some grays, but no other color. And I'm seeing him and talking to him directly. And I go into this other room, and the first thing I see is this weird table. And so I sit down and have the table. So I'm actually experiencing everything in that room as it is, like, and the detail of what things are is depending on how much you want to focus, because it's like, right. So you're looking into the room, and I see everything in the room, but do I see the fine details? No, unless I want to, unless I focus on it. But there's a lot of details there, though. And because you only focus, to me, I didn't care what was in the room except the table. There was other things in the room, but I didn't bother looking at them. So I'm focused on this table, and I'm sitting on this table. He's sitting on the other side. And so you're experiencing everything that's happening. Like, these black tentacles were in perfect sharp detail. Most people get freaked out about that. this is kind of what he wanted to see, how I experienced and what I did. Because what I've learned over the years is that nothing can affect you unless you allow it to. And this was also part of the whole lesson that he was showing you as a person that's listening to them, watching the video. Yeah. It's important you understand that there's nothing in the spirit realm can hurt you unless you allow it to. There's no, you can't get burnt by fire, you can't drown, you can't freeze, none of this stuff matters. Right. And so that was part of the message as well. And now he's looking at me, and it's interesting because the thing that eyebrow thing that goes up, which I say Spock does, because that was exactly what when he did that, it's the first thing that came to my mind, because, I'm a Star Trek fan, so I have to admit. So it's like, but that image is very, very, it's not important, but it's curiosity. Because he was curious how the reaction was, because not everybody reacts in that way. But that experience was all very visual to me. But it was also, when I look at him as a person, when it's shifted to looking at the edge with the town, is instantly love. When he's walking through, it's the pain of love. Because if that makes any sense, because he's walking through the town, he was physically upset about what was happening, and he had a really hard time. He can't just watch this stuff from a distance, and this is part of the message. You see, he has to be reborn back into this world. So Saint Germain just didn't come back. He's here, and guarantee you he's in this world right now, and trying to help, and so is so many other souls that came here. So his message to the world is that he is coming back to help the world, because he cannot just sit back and watch things happen. He has to be part of it. And that's a message to everyone that's here right now, is that you came here to help the world, not leave this world. We're here to help this world. And again, about the clairvoyance aspect of it, when he's walking down, I'm seeing the dead bodies. I'm seeing the people that are partially burnt, and the loved ones holding them in their hands and crying. It's all, I see this in detail, but I also feel it. And then you could smell it, and then you could taste it, and then you could feel the heat. Like, you can add all this stuff in if you wish. Yeah. So, but sometimes you don't want to. Do you want to walk to a town and smell burnt flesh? You can. And sometimes that's part of the message. Yes. And if that's there, that means it's part of the message. And that's kind of, so to me, it's like the whole message is important, and every little aspect to it. Sometimes, to be honest with you, I like to see in perfect detail, and sometimes it's ridiculously sharp. And sometimes that's in a way a curse, because when you go into a hell space and people are being, and there's parts of, some really horrific things, I actually see it in complete detail, and I feel it, and I smell it, and I taste it. It's like, it's not something that I can say, when you do this work, being clairvoyant isn't necessarily what you want to be all the time.
But just to spin off on that, you're working with your soul. So your soul is familiar with every single dimension. I think when you incarnate into lives where you interact with those dimensions by being a really corrupt and evil person, for instance, you can get access to really dark dimensions. And then let's say your soul's incarnated and ascends out of those behaviors and chooses to be a creative, because even souls can go as twisted love, which is evil, okay, and then they can go from evil twisted love, which is an imprisonment, illusion, and it's very manipulative and hard to get out of. But they can go from that spectrum to what is like unconditional love, like Christ consciousness. So if they were to start at that spectrum, they would have access to all the dimensions of consciousness that are associated with that. Really saturatedly so, okay? Not just because they looked in and they were aware from some other dimensional plane, but because they lived lifetimes where they interacted with being those representations, okay? Now found their way to unconditional love. those beings in unconditional love can still traverse in even more saturatedly so those dark dimensions to help bring souls back into the light. So some extremely loving benevolent souls will choose very dark pathways to gain rooted access with those dimensions, but then they have to get themselves out. And they might not be able to. They might actually find themselves now the freaking darkest of the darkest of the dark. Joe and I have come across like you could say fallen angels, super ancient, got lost in those dark places, able to help guide them back home. And now they can incarnate and help other souls, guide other souls. It's really powerful when you incarnate. It's so ridiculously powerful when you incarnate and you rediscover yourself, and then you help other souls in this incarnate state, because we have access to so many dimensions. And what we've done is also what we've done, and what we will do is all inside of us. We can tap into that anytime. It's just what we believe we're capable of. We have to overcome ourself and our personal beliefs of ourself, and then that will help us. But anyway, I was saying this for a reason.
Yeah, that just opened like a...
I know, it opens a whole can of worms.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, though, your soul is not, when you go into hell spaces and you see that stuff, it sounds disturbing as a human being to try to imagine it. But when you're actually in a journey state and you see that stuff, you're aware of it. Like, you're familiar with it on some level because your soul has witnessed it somewhere and you're connected with source. So when you first do this, it's going to be very intimidating. But as you adjust to it, it's like, oh, there's another hell space, I've seen it a million times. Isn't that sad when it gets boring? I mean, surprise me, universe, surprise me. There really are kind of rules to it's like, you've seen it a lot of times in the hell space. I haven't come across anything new.
And I think that's important to say that when souls incarnate in every aspect of life, they're able to go anywhere. Yeah. It's true. And however, a lot of us have done that.
Yeah.
Are you able to accept it?
Yeah, right.
That's why a lot of the times you're not going to be introduced to a part of yourself until you're able to accept that part of yourself. And it could be in stages. You could start here, and then eventually you start going down, and it's okay because you've already did this, and now you might even be taking part of yourselves back. And when you actually help a soul that was once a Christ consciousness back to a Christ consciousness again, it's extraordinarily beautiful to experience, even though you pulled that part of that soul out of the darkest pits of hell. But that's extremely beautiful to experience.
Yes,
I don't know how to explain it until you actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's important that when you're doing soul retrieval, because that's basically what that is, it's some of the most rewarding and difficult parts of journeying. And it's not for everyone. But I think a lot of people have the ability to do it if they learn to accept all aspects of themselves. You have to accept the things that your soul has chosen to done, even though you might not be able to understand what the hell they're thinking. It doesn't matter because you can't understand the complexities. Like, look at it this way. You go to a hell space to eventually help souls that are trapped in there. What happens if you go to that? You live a difficult life, or a difficult 50,000 lives, and then you come back, and now you're able to set free trillions of souls. Now, was it worth you sacrificing and going through all that to help trillions of souls? You're going to say yes to that because the greater good of it all is extraordinary. Now, what happens if that's what it's like? That you have all these souls that this is why religion, I have issues with it because you burn in hell for eternity. I just look at that and say, absolutely ridiculous. Nobody deserves to burn in hell for eternity, especially for something minor. And I've come across souls that completely utterly destroyed their own universe, and they're the only ones left. Now, what do you do with that soul? What do you do with a soul that literally has absorbed every soul of its actual physical universe? Every living thing, nothing was left except dust and bones. So what do you do with that? What do you do with that soul? Eventually, that soul will learn. But how long is that going to take?
Yeah.
Like, that's as close to saying to put somebody in hell for eternity, because it's going to take him almost an eternity to be able to move past that.
Yeah.
So, but it's still not eternity. Not like so souls do not get trapped into hell spaces for eternity. We just have to help them remember and bring themselves back out of that space, and then they become some of the most beautiful beings in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And all that hardship that they learned now is part of the collective. So now everybody rises from it, not just him or the being, but all of us. So every single time we release something from that space, we all learn and we all grow. And that's why it's so beautiful to do. And that's why the experience is so amazing.
It gives you a whole new twist when you look at the world today and you say, oh, these corrupt people. And we came here to be patient with those souls. So we came here to try to help the souls find the light within themselves. And it might be lifetimes. We might have to keep doing this. If you see it as a human being, it's like, no, there has to be change now. But on the soul level, there's no such thing as like now is like forever. There's no impatience there. It's like, 100 years, a million years, it's like, and so when you see like that one soul Joe is talking about, we know who that is. That's the angel with the black wings. I couldn't believe it. And he was trapped in that space and he was not allowed to be set free because his innate, it's like his innate thread of meaning was that, to consume is like his innate thread of meaning, but he was wise. How could somebody whose thread of meaning is to consume all things be wise? But he was, and I respected him, but I was not allowed to let him out of that space. Like it's like you can tell in your soul, you could tell balance and karma and divine time. Like you can just tell. It's not like I'm using my head here and thinking, oh, you're bad. Oh, it's like this like overwhelming awareness that just like surrounds you and saturates you into this sense that you just know things. It's not about what you see or smell or feel in that instantaneous moment. It's about like this ripple of all time that translates into your being, and your soul just knows things. And you develop into that level, and you develop into that level faster than you could imagine. But you have to start with the basics, man. If you close your eyes and say, I want to talk to White Eagle, or I want to talk to Saint Germain, and what comes to you is just this bare bones, like a nothing, like something so basic that it makes absolutely no sense. You have to go with it because you're deciding it has to be logical. The spirit realm does not have to be logical, okay? So if you see a pencil, well, what does a pencil have to do with freaking White Eagle? Or what does a pencil have to do with Saint Germain? You have to give it a chance. It might be they're trying to tell you to start channeled writing. I mean, who am I to know what that pencil means to you? You have to pick it up and interact with it in your imagination. It was given to you as a gift. That image of green is given to you as a gift. And now you have to interact with it and see where it is guiding you.
Like, let's look at when I first went to Saint Germain. What the hell is a fight in the hallway?
I know, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect a squid, man.
But that's part of the conversation. It's like you have to just go with what comes to you.
Yeah.
Because if you second guess it, then you're just destroying the whole concept.
Right.
Because the whole journey is a message. And there's times where I was like, just get to the point already. But you have to follow through with it. Just get to the point.
You can't force it.
You can't force it because it will just stop.
Right.
Like, and you don't know what the hell is coming up. I had no idea there was somebody going to be murdered on the other side of that door.
Right.
And that's the cool thing about journeying.
We think of Saint Germain, and you don't think of murder, or squids or Spock or whatever. But every part of a journey is exactly what it's meant to be. Like, you are going to be attracted to very specific details, and you're not going to care about other details. Like, I've done journeys where people are like, why didn't you go find out more about this or that? If I was doing the journey, I would have explored it more. And it's like, my soul's guiding me, man. Yeah. I can't override the way that I'm guided just because it suits some kind of like other purpose. This is the message. This is the meaning. This is what I'm guided to participate in. And you can tell what's important and what's not important. Like, what you think as a human being is important is not that important, believe it or not. So when you're in a journey space, it's not as important to understand this detail, this detail. It's actually to get the depth of the message, and the wisdom is literally what's the most important aspect of it, because that's what's going to help you grow, you know?
And allowing your soul to make the choices is what flows the journey.
Yeah.
As soon as you start getting your own ego involved, it shuts everything down.
Yes.
So if you find yourself being shut down, it means you have to step back and allow your soul to actually guide this, the whole process. Because you don't know, as a physical being, anywhere near, not even like a fraction of a millionth of anything.
Yeah.
You have absolutely your soul is so much more complex than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
So when you think that you know more than your soul, then you're never going to get anywhere in journeys. You have to allow yourself to be guided.
Mm-hmm.
And the more ego involved, the less truth that you're going to receive, and you're gonna. It's like you have to allow things to flow.
Right.
And you're right. You don't choose what's coming next. You can experience things and say, oh, okay, what does that pencil mean?
Mm-hmm.
You pick the pencil up. You know how many times I've been in journeys of what the hell is this? But then I have to just take a step back, allow it to come, and then it flows into something else and something. And all of a sudden, the most profound message. And sometimes doesn't happen till the very end.
Right.
It all ties itself together. It's
right.
actually pretty extraordinary.
Yes, it does.
And I think as an individual human being, we're all extraordinary in every way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what people forget. But it's so frustrating as a human, though. Have to know what your soul is capable of and where it's come from and what you're stuck with here.
Yeah.
But what that journey showed me is that when you're like a saint or ascendant master and you're looking down at the world, you don't simply accept the way things are. Because you know by helping souls, is how they grow.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a part of ourselves, and maybe that's just specifically orientated towards him, but that's 2 ascendant masters I went to talk to.
Yeah.
And both of them wanted to come back to help souls on this earth.
Yeah.
What does that say about ascendant masters? And who knows, that's what I got. Mm-hmm. But you might get something completely different, because the message that your soul needs to hear and the people that you need to speak to or at need to hear your message.
Right.
That you have to say.
Yes.
And that is perfectly fine. And one of the things that I know Abbey was talking about is Earth and how we make change. When you're talking like that, I literally see the world spinning, and trillions of lifetimes actually happening simultaneously to try to put the pieces together. And so when you're looking at time, it's not simply just this. It's like so many parallel universes are trying to fix this situation that we're in. So we have this role, and then so many other people are doing the same thing to try to put all the pieces together so we can ascend to the next level, so we can finally fix the Earth's problems. So when you look at it, but it's all happening here. Mm-hmm. It's like literally I see, if I look over at the landscape, that's changed significantly since we started this journey. and from fog to beautiful crystal clear skies. Well, not crystal clear, those clouds, but it's amazing how much has changed. Yeah. That you can see all the different aspects of everything that is trying to be happening simultaneously. So it's like watching in fast motion ants that are constantly going back and forth, trying to make this decision. But this is what it's like. And when the world itself is constantly trying to better itself by making every decision possible to come out with a proper outcome. Yeah. And that's all happening right now as we speak. It's crazy. Anyway, it's enough of that, I think, Abbey.
Yeah.
So
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really liked your journey, Joe. I want to journey to Saint Germain again, but yeah.
But everybody's has its own distinct way of seeing it.
Yes, and experiencing.
Yes, and the
well.
message is meant to be.
I'm gonna say one more thing before we close. So, in our genre, metaphysical, spiritual genre, you're gonna hear a lot of things like, about Galactic Federation of Light, or you're gonna hear things that are gonna awe you, or New Earth, and you're gonna really wanna. It's almost like you're going to gather a vision or an idea inside yourself because other people are talking about this, and you've decided that what they're saying is resonating with you. So let's say you do a journey to try to discover this for yourself, and you're not coming up with anything that they're saying. It's coming to you differently. Do not second guess yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming to you differently because you have your own perception. Your soul is aware of things in your own way. So do not mimic anybody that's out there, please. You have to have your own voice. Say it in your own way, and if it isn't the way that everybody else is talking about it, so there must be something wrong with you. No. You have to honor what comes to you, okay? And don't make things up here as in, I'm going to tweak this because it's supposed to be like this, so I'm going to say that it is like this. But it's no, it's just a boring pencil. When I go to Saint Germain, I get a boring pencil, and then it asks me to pick up the pencil and start writing, and I just want it to be something more special than this. He's an ascended master. I want to hear him talk about, the fifth dimensional earth and stuff, and he's talking to me about a pencil. I don't understand. So embrace what comes to you because it is ridiculously precious, okay? It is a blessing. It is a magic. It is the key that unlocks your door, okay? Don't let it be like everybody else, like it's your thing. All right.
Abbey knows how much I love using complex words and meanings to everything because it's like I don't get it. When I do journeys, I don't have anybody come into me about it's the seventh dimension, it's the eighth dimension.
I don't either.
I'm the leader of the Galactic Federation of Planets. Like, no,
I've never come across this. I'm looking for it, and I do discover meaning. But I don't, it's not like there's some sort of leadership or high council, or it's maybe our way of defining it.
I do get leaders though. I go to places that have souls, but they never introduce themselves as that.
Yeah.
Because the energy is their name. Mm-hmm. It's like when I want to try to find my true name, what's my true name? And it's literally just my energy signature.
Here's another anomaly, like Lord Ashtar, okay? Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be, this like a Federation guy, Galactic Federation of Light guy. He's like an alien being that's here. Even for me, when I go visit him, he is so benevolent and so sweet. And I don't know how to put a uniform and a man that is, in charge of like 50,000 fleet ships or something. It is truly like talking to a Christ consciousness level, like a Jesus emanation of just love for humanity. And so it brings him down to earth, So I don't access that interpretation, although, I value everybody's interpretation. Like I really want to align. I really want to see what other people see. I see it in my own way. And so that is what I present. You know what I mean? So Lord Ashtar is just like a very loving, you could call him Lord out of respect, You get to call it Lord Jesus, but I don't worship Lord Ashtar. I don't worship Lord Jesus. I value them. I just value them for what I experience from them. And
I'm telling you right now, you don't worship anything because you do.
Yeah.
If I was to bow down in front of Jesus, he'll be like picking me right back up and calling me brother and say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
We're equals.
Yes.
It's not. I've never come across a being that wanted me to kneel in front of him unless it was a demonic, crazy.
Oh yeah, psychopath.
Psychopath.
Psychopaths want you to worship them.
So what are you worshiping if they're saying you have to go on your hands and knees and worship me?
Bow down.
I never come across a conscious being that's full of love that wants me to bow down in front of them ever.
Yeah.
It's only been demonic, weird shit. So this is why I have a lot of questions when it comes to the religion in itself. Well, I think I did a couple of journeys to last year, and he's actually amazing.
Yeah, really
his
nice.
blue robe stands out for me. He has this beautiful blue robe on. It's really gorgeous. And but that's what the one thing that stands out in his hair are the two things that stand out for me. But he is very much not talking about anything. I didn't even know anything about him when I went to it because he doesn't talk about any of this stuff to me.
Right.
Doesn't mean the people that are getting this are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, we're just not getting it. So all we can do is speak on what me and Abbey are experiencing, and we do not experience this stuff the way people are saying. It doesn't mean that they're saying is wrong. It just means that for us, we don't get any of that, because there is no hierarchy so much as simply just some beings are, like, for instance, if I go to the Pleiadians, they come at me with the balls of light, and then one turns into one with 4 arms, and then they create a circle around me. It's freaking, this is how I love the Pleiadians, by the way. The energy scored amazing. I had some really amazing experience with the Pleiadians. And then that one being with 4 arms gets me to hold on to his arms, and we communicate, and we do things like that. But he still holds on to the circle, so it completes this circle around us. That's how they greet you. So who is the person with the 4 arms? Is he the leader? I don't know if it's so much the leader, but he is the one that comes to me. And he has 4 arms simply because I need to hold his arm while he holds the other ones. And all the other ones only have 2 arms. So that's just one example of my difference of interpretation of what things are. And I go to places, there is ships out there, but do we need ships as in the spirit realm? No, we don't. We can travel without ships. So maybe one thing when I first started to do journeys, I always had to thought I had to use this tool in order to be able to do something. And then you discover the tools aren't necessary.
Right.
So maybe there's some people out there that think there has to be this structure, and so that's what they're showing. Because the spirits will communicate with you and how you best suits you at the time.
Yeah, right.
So when you start to become aware that nothing is necessary to go from A to B, there is nothing. For when I want to go see a specific thing, there's no doorways I got to go through. There's no big long ceremonies I have to do ahead of time. There's no preparation work. You simply just attach. Because if you believe you have to go through a maze in order to get to the person, you're going to go through a maze to get to the person.
Right.
If you have to go through 20 doorways, you've got to go through 20 doorways.
But that's not necessarily true. Like, when I want to talk, I can experience that too. But, like, for instance, let's say I want to talk to someone's deceased loved one. I really, really, really want to go to the part of the deceased loved one that's in heaven. And I actually make that intention. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to go to the glowing, happy face, and I am guided to the part that is stuck in a purgatory. So when I get these requests for deceased loves, I get very nervous because I want to reveal to you how happy and free their spirit is, because that's genuinely happening. But then as a healer and one who does soul retrieval, I am guided to parts that may make you feel uncomfortable to see that. I, as a human being, don't ever want to do that, but I can't stop. I can't control it. Like, it has to just be exactly what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we could go on forever.
We could!
Because we have so many experiences. Like, when you start doing soul retrieval, it is a very complex journey.
Yeah.
Because you have to get to the root, and then in order to get to that root, you have to go through many, many, many layers of suffering in order to get to the part where that person's trying to hide what's actually happening.
Right.
And it depends how open a person is as well. You might have to go through many things to get to it, but everything that happens for a reason. But to go to that specific person, you simply just go to them. Now, it might take you a while to get to the part that you want it to go to, or you might not be going exactly where you want it to go, but you're going to where the soul in your higher self guided you to, because that's what needs to be done. And sometimes you need to do that in order to access what you originally wanted to do in the first place, because that part needed to be healed before you can access the higher part. Who knows? But it's all about simply being guided to what it is that you're supposed to do and be okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done.
We just talked for an hour. Hope you guys enjoyed that. So Joseph and I, we do different things, and I have my website. If you want to ever book a session with me, see what I've got going on my website. It's AbbeyNormalsWisdomQuest.com. Also on Patreon, I'm doing a lot of new things. It's an exciting place to go if you really want to expand your existential existence. It's to really go in depth and really give you an opportunity to reach me through a live stream experience, ask me questions, and and share in a community. It's a lot of fun. I'm even offering reduced cost sessions out there, which is basically free depending on the tier that you participate in. So check it out, patreon.com/Abbey Normal's Wisdom Quest. And Joe's doing some exciting things too. If you ever want to come to the Yukon, he's doing Northern Light tours. And we'd like to put some kind of psychic opportunity, like psychic development opportunity. We haven't wrapped our head around it completely yet, but I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, so basically, if you want to come up to the Yukon, we could do the Northern Lights tours, but we also can put a spiritual guided type thing, because when we can
teach you how to journey while we're waiting for Northern Lights.
Exactly, and the conversations in alone, because when you actually talk about spiritual stuff, man, it can be pretty interesting.
Yep.
And you can learn a lot from that. And if you when you're going out for 7-8 hours at a time, you might not see the Northern Lights. You might see the Northern Lights, and you could, and when you just never know.
Yeah.
They're not happening every night. So, but they are but not really. So, because you have to really, I'll have to explain to you more in detail the complexities of Northern Lights, because that's a whole nother topic. But you can also visit my Northern Lights page at Joseph Bradley Roars. It gives you examples of some of the stuff I did. And Yukon Skies is the Northern Lights tours. And Joseph Bradley Roars is my spiritual page. So
Amun-Ra the Awakening. There's so many websites, you guys.
I repeated myself.
Yes, you did. Go check out his photographs. Joseph Bradley Aurora's.
And Amun-Ra the Awakening is my spiritual page.
Yes.
That's
all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for watching. Have an awesome day.
Take care.